Hello my friends, and welcome to another beautiful day in Beleriand. My name is Jordan, also known as JMonster, and I'm one of the lead developers behind Silmarillion Total War. And I will be your guide today through this garden of red delights. Taking to the field is a brand new faction recently added to Silmarillion Total War's closed alpha build. The House of Fingolfin of Hithlum is one of the royal houses of the Noldor, who trace their lineage back to Finwë, first overlord of the Deep Elves. They focus primarily on their exceptionally skilled Noldor swordsmen, and their roster is supplemented by Edain from the House of Hador. They'll be facing off today against the youngest of the royal houses, House Fingolfin, a defensively minded spear faction. So, without any further wagging of gums, let me introduce you to the Noldor of Hithlum. Today I have a 2 vs 2 battle for you. This is going to be featuring a few streamers from our community. You can find their information down in the description of this video. But let's quickly move through the House of Fingolfin army. I have gone through these units in detail on a stream earlier, so we're just going to briefly gloss through them. My army consists of some low-tier spearmen here. We've got some Herdsmen of Dorbomen, and they're going to be deployed out on my wings. My second line is Marines of Vinyamar. You can find them on my flanks. They're going to be used for focusing important targets from my opponent. We've also got some more men of the House of Hador here, some mid-tier units. Herdsmen of Hithlum are a hybrid archer slash shock infantry. I've also got 4 units of the Bladesmen of Barad Ithel, which are the seminal line tier unit, or line infantry unit for the House of Fingolfin. They have fantastic melee skill, good armor, and a stout shield. I've also got 2 companies of the Blade Masters of Barad Ithel, who are the two-handed sword equivalent of the Bladesmen from the same tier. Moving on over this way, I've also got some mid-tier pikes here, the Sentries of Hithlum, more men from the House of Hador. Some more Bladesmen working together in tandem with these units. It makes a very strong and solid front line that is not easy to break down. And then finally, we have the bodyguard of High King Fingolfin himself, the Arimo Arantar, the devoted of the High King. Exceptionally skilled swordsmen. They have a massive pool of melee defense. They've also got a good shield, and they pair that with a solid armor value of 10. When we move across the field here, we'll briefly go through the army of my opponent. This is the army of Artorius Waifus. He is one of our testers, and this is one of his premium competitive builds. So unlike many other House of Fingolfin builds, this actually has 3 units of their pikes, those being the Bridge Wards of Nargothrond. He's paired them with a solid front line of Wardens of Nargothrond, armor-piercing spears, and he has a number of supporting units, including Marksmen of Nargothrond, Defenders of Talath Dyrnan, and I think he has some basic units as well, in the form of the Talath Dyrnan bows. But he certainly has 2 units of Marksmen of Nargothrond who are armed with a split-shot arrow. Let's pop across the field here. We'll quickly slow things down so we have a chance to go through it all. We have the army of UMAD Commander, one of our community casters. He's brought Bladesmen of Barad Ithel because, of course. He's also got a similar second line of Herdsmen of Hithlum. He's got his pikemen in here as well, the Sentries of Hithlum, who I believe he has deployed a little bit farther back to avoid some of the mid-range and long-range skirmish fire from the House of Fingolfin. He's got 3 units of the pikemen. He's also got some Herdsmen. You can see them here. Low-tier spearmen, excellent at holding a line. In addition, actually I missed my cavalry as well, so I have a unit of these, the Lancers of Anon in Galuth. These are a light lancer of a high tier, so they've got about 50 men in the unit, very powerful off the charge and very swift. They are, however, lightly armored and lightly shielded, so they are certainly not a unit that you want to use in close quarters. You want to always keep those things moving. UMAD Commander has also brought some Marines of Vinyamar, 2 companies of them there. Ignore this. This is totally fine. The mod is still in alpha, so I need to switch around some of the artillery crews. But he has a catapult here to support his line. And we've got some Armitar of Barad Ithel, and some Arimo Arantar as well. And then across the field, his opponent, Scouts of Entertainment, another one of our community casters, has some Marksmen of Nargothrond. He's got the Arqueni Mormegilwa, one of the bodyguard tier units for the House of Fingolfin, one of the few truly offensive units that this faction can field. They're multiple HP, and they cannot be stunned, making them absolute wrecking balls in close quarters. Scouts has also brought Defenders of Talath Dyrnan. This is one of the mid-tier spear picks for the House of Fingolfin, and naturally he's brought some Bridge Wards of Nargothrond as well. Swordsmen of Talath Dyrnan, this is looking like the full-strength unit, so they have javelins, but their javelins are not armor-piercing. There's a detachment that exists of this unit. However, their detachment is armor-piercing, so a little bit of a difference there. Backline consists of Wardens of Nargothrond, again, more of those powerful armor-piercing spearmen. And then out here on the wing, we have another unit of the Sartor Findarato. And so, without any further ado, let's kick this up into full speed. My army is approaching that of Artorius, and he's taking a very strong defensive position up here on the hills. This is literally going to be an uphill battle for the house of Fingolfin, but we have the tools, and we have the numbers. So Artorius' build is very, very potent, but it relies primarily on the superiority of pikemen. Now, prior to the addition of House Fingolfin, there was no other faction in the game that could field pikemen. However, now there's a little bit of rivalry for their pike supremacy, and I was able to bring 3 units of my own. And appears that Artorius also has a unit of Arc 20 more McGilwa to mix in with his line. And things are about to kick off here as the House of Fingolfin charges downhill. And they're going to be met by Blade and Courage, the Bladesmen of Barad Ithel, shortly thereafter backed up by the sentries of Hithlum. I'm opening fire on his pikemen here, the heavily armored pikes of Nargothrond, with my javelins in the back, and we are reaping a terrible, terrible bloody harvest from amongst the ranks of these elite pikemen, trying to soften things up a little bit, as they don't expect my infantry to be able to go toe-to-toe with his elite pikes in such great numbers. I certainly do need to use my support units to great effect. Over here, my Ferdsmen of Dorlomin have locked down a unit of Wardens of Nargothrond, and because of the low numbers of this particular build that relies heavily on the elite pikes, I'm going to be able to swarm over his wings and inflict some serious damage. So here we've got my Blade Masters of Barad Ithel, I've got the Armatar of Barad Ithel out in front, and they're going to be blocking shots for the more lightly armored and unshielded Blade Masters of Barad Ithel. So they're taking that on the chin for the team, but I am going to be able to get in here, and this is a huge development. The Marksmen of Nargothrond are a big part of the killing power of the Fingolfin army, which relies mostly on their spear units, which are a little bit less offensively oriented. So being able to shut these guys down early with this much infantry is a huge, huge deal. And over here you can see I've actually activated my Lancers of Anon Galuth, which is going to allow them, the fact that I've shut down these marksmen, is going to allow them to continuously cycle charge the rear of my opponent's army. But I do need to be careful, as Artorius is an experienced player, so he will turn his pike line around temporarily just for a moment to ensure that his units get a melee defense bonus when receiving this charge from the front, and also his pike and spearmen are going to be able to deal a fair amount of damage off the charge from my lancers using their momentum against them. A nice charge here into the marksmen rather, of Nargothrond. I'm going to pull them out of there as quickly as I possibly can. I want to keep my light cavalry moving. The longer that they stay in combat with these units, the more likely I am to lose numbers, and I definitely need them right now, because if we go over and look at the balance of power here, the infantry of Nargothrond is actually winning out here over my mid-tier pipeline. They're doing their best, but unfortunately the bridge wards just have such a big difference in quality that it's not going to be an easy fight. Sartor Findarato here, exactly where they need to be, buffing the line, making sure that their units are not going to run away. Let's go ahead and slow down just a little bit, pop on over to the other side. You can see some of the units from Yumat. Actually, I missed another one of his bodyguard units here. Sons of Hurin. These are the opposite of the other bodyguard unit that we saw from Yumat, so he's a little bit heavier on his elite tier units. These guys are unbreakable, armor piercing, and they do a truckload of damage in close quarters and especially off the charge. Some beautiful volleys from Yumat into the rear of Scouts' defensive line here, and things are going much better in the infantry fight for Yumat than they are for myself. There's a lot more mid-tier picks here, not quite so many concentrated elite units that he has to cut his way through, so he is having a field day beating these guys down. Armatar of Barad Ithel looking to exploit a potential gap here in Scout's line, while his marksmen of Nargothrond and archers of Talathirnin do their best to hold the line. Looks like we have one of the hidden units here from Nargothrond, armed with poison arrows. The Scouts of Tauren Faurath are two-handed spearmen and archer hybrids. They are a multi-purpose unit that are excellent for screening out cavalry and for participating in long-range skirmish action, which is what we can see here. In the back lines, Yumat has also activated his own unit of Lancers of Anon in Galuth, and they're going for the marksmen of Nargothrond. And unfortunately, Scouts isn't going to be able to turn them around in time, so that is going to go right to their armor value. With an armor-piercing charge of what those Lancers have, that is really going to hurt. And the marksmen of Nargothrond, an extremely valuable, as I mentioned, tool for the House of Fingolfin for evening things out in an infantry fight, are going to take nearly half of their number in casualties. Yumat is going to lose a few horsemen in the exchange, but I'm pretty sure he would take that any day of the week. Go ahead and turn things back up again. You can see up here on the hill, some Wardens of Nargothrond have been brought in to deal with my flanking force, but unfortunately, a lot of force and elite quality units here concentrated in this area, and they're going to be able to cut their way through the Marksmen of Nargothrond, who have been all but eliminated, and the Wardens here are not going to be able to hold them back for too long. My light cavalry constantly running harassment on the back lines here. And I can see, oh yes, I saw those very distinctive split-shot arrows from the Marksmen of Nargothrond with their orange trails, and I'm going to pull them out of the back line and immediately charge them uphill into these marksmen. My lance is going to cut right through them. There's just not enough of them there, and they're going to lose about half of their remaining number, if not a little bit more. And that is effectively going to keep this unit out of the fight and nullify their usefulness. My units here going for a quick downhill charge into the back of some of the pikes of Nargothrond and some of the spearmen. I want to get them out of there as quickly as I possibly can. So without letting them get too stuck in, I'm going to pull them out again. But the attrition is real, and I'm going to lose about 3 or 4 horsemen off of that charge. You can see they were only in there for just a moment. You can see how deadly those spears are against light cavalry like this. So I'm going to turn them around, go back, but I know that Artorias is a canny player, so I'm actually going to feint here a little bit. And instead of going for another charge there in the same area, I'm going to pull them out this way, make it look like I'm going elsewhere, and then I'm going to charge right back on in and try and get some more value off of that. And the Elves of Fingolfin are very hard-pressed right now. We are kind of evening things out a little bit. I've thrown in some of my Marines now, having expended their ammunition, to try and keep my numbers high and prevent them from breaking through the line. Lances of Adon-in-Galut. I'm going to pull out of there. I might go after the center. I'm trying to be as quick as I possibly can about it. I'm looking for areas where I'm struggling, and then throwing my cavalry in there to try and even things out a little bit. Again, going to pull my cav out of there, but the attrition is real, and they are slowly but surely melting away in the face of this Nargothrond pipeline. That being said, the damage done is significant. Over here, I've brought my herdsmen of Hithlum around the wing. I'm going to be able to pour fire into the rear of Nargothrond's advancing infantry. See here my Blade Masters of Barad Ithel with their high melee defense value doing their best to hold the line, but the spear wall of the Bridge Wardens of Nargothrond is a serious force multiplier, and these guys are very, very hard pressed to hold the line, even with that arrow support. Now that's Adon-in-Galut are going to continue to charge in and out of the ranks of Nargothrond and try and even that fight out as much as possible. Meanwhile, over here, things are going far better for UMAD. Looks like we have some scouts of Tauren Fauroth here who are getting caught by a flanking attack from the Marines of Venyamar coming in from the rear against the Spearmen. They're going to do very well for themselves. The Wardens of Nargothrond doing their best, paired with the Arqueni Mord Magilwa, but UMAD is pressing home his advantage. Sons of Húrin leading the way, and backed up by more men of Dorlomen. Has some centers of Hithlum here, pressing forward alongside the Bladesmen of Barad Ithel, and that is a deadly combination that unfortunately Scouts does not appear to have an answer to. We've got some Bladesmen of Barad Ithel here fighting alongside the Armatar of Barad Ithel, and they are pushing their way through the second line of Nargothrond. It looks like Scout's front line has been completely shattered, and what few forces still remain are being slowly but surely encircled and driven down and driven out. Over here, it appears that with the presence of the bodyguard, the Hithlum units here are hard pressed to hold the line. So this is one area that Scouts appears to be winning in. He's still got a skirmish line that's active and doing their best, but I don't know if that's going to be enough to swing this fight in his favor. In fact, I'm almost certain that it will not be. Let's pop back on over to my side where the contest is a little bit more closely matched. Herdsmen of Hithlum now charging in to encircle the bridge wards of Nargothrond, who have pushed forward so far that they are now able to be encircled on basically all sides. And we've broken the cohesion of the line here, which is exactly what we need in order to be able to surround and destroy the elements of Artorias' elite army piecemeal.
Our men have slain the enemy general. Without him,
and that looks like Scout's general just fell, so the remaining troops under Scouts of Entertainment are not going to be able to fight for too much longer, having been disheartened by the loss of their leader. Bridge wards of Nargothrond here being slowly beaten out, again surrounded. You can see how we've managed to isolate and ultimately surround on many sides elements of Artorias' army. And that the big decisive factor in this battle, I think, came down to the numbers.
Good tidings. The enemy general lies dead.
And there goes Artorias' general, slain by some of my low-tier spearmen. Lancers of Anon in Galud, not looking too good. Certainly looking worse for wear, but they have managed to do their job and even things out on the infantry line. And now the rest of my forces are going to take it from here. The Airimo Arantar sparring against some of the best that Nargothrond has to offer. And they've also, the Nargothrond troops have been pinned in by the Armatar of Baradithel, who managed to get around the wings and come in from behind them. So it's not, there's not too much more that the Fingolfin forces can do. This is looking like a fairly decisive defeat here. 63% of our forces having been killed to a whopping 83 of the enemy. So a 20% difference there. This is looking like it's going to swing in favor of House Fingolfin, which is a good thing. I mean, it would have been a bad look for the faction if they lost their first ever battle. We've just extinguished the final elements of Artorias' right wing. His center, I think, has been routed, and so the only troops that he has left is a small ring here of Bridge Wards of Nargothrond, who are fighting back-to-back, and my Blade Masters of Baradithel holding them in position. Everything else from the Host of Hithlum swarms in around them, and they're going to put the final nail in the coffin of this valiant effort by the House of Fingolfin. Going to go ahead, fast forward things just a little bit. And there we go. We're going to have some final routing here from Artorias' army. And it's looking like Scouts of Entertainment is on the ropes here. A few of his mid-tier archers having been thrown into the fray, but there are Airimo Arantar, alongside with some veteran swordsmen, Marines of Vinyamar, and now some pikemen moving in there. These archers are not long for this world. This is absolutely not the kind of fight that they can win in. And we're going to get an admit defeat here from Scouts of Entertainment, and the rest of his remaining forces are going to attempt to save their skins. A small pocket of wardens here running for their lives, and that is going to be a solid victory for the forces of House Fingolfin. Not the most even of battles, but it does do a fantastic job, I think, of showing some of the strengths of House Fingolfin in action. You certainly got to see all of their roster as well, pairing off against some veteran players. And Artorias' army was not an easy one to fight, let me tell you. 3 pikes from Nargothrond is an extremely competitive build, and we were able to shut them down. But you can see that there is a big difference in numbers. We had nearly 1,000 more troops than Artorias did. We still lost quite a lot. He was able to kill nearly 1,500 of them, which really does, I think, put on display how powerful that build is, but the fact that we were able to defeat it is fairly significant. Now I have one other battle that I want to show you guys, and this is going to be, again, with the same people. We're going to be playing with House Fingolfin, myself and UMed Commander, and we'll be squaring off against Scouts of Entertainment and Artorias. So stick around, I'll see you guys in just a moment. And here we are on the Talath Dearden map. Again, we'll be playing as the House of Fingolfin, and across the field for myself, we're going to have Artorias with his Easterling army. Let's go ahead and take a look at them so we see what we're up against. Now, this is another one of Artorias' heavily competitive builds. This one involves a lot of pole arms, just like the last one. So we're going to see some Warband of Lothland here, and some Halberdiers, both the detachments and the full-strength units. I'm going to see that same pairing here, Warband of Lothland and the Halberdiers, because they work so well together. Clan Guard of Lothland, going to be bringing up the second line. We've got 2 companies here of the Salamandrine Guard, which are monster hunting mounted archers with a special projectile that deals damage to enemy morale. Got some Wardens of Lothland here, some spear units to defend his back lines, and again another heaping helping of the Halberdiers of Lothland alongside the Warband of Lothland. I believe he's also got some Chieftain's Honor Guard here. These are the 2 HP bodyguard units for the Boar faction, and I think that pretty well rounds out his army. He's also got a few detachments here, some of the Halberdiers of Lothland, and another unit of Wardens here that he is using to defend his back lines. My army, fairly similar to the last one, but with a little bit more armor piercing in it this time around. I've got some Herdsmen of Dorlomen. I'm pairing them with some Herdsmen of Dorlomen with their armor piercing axes. My front line again consists of 3 units of Bladesmen of Baradithel alongside the Sentries of Hithlum. Move on over here. You can see some more of my archer units moving forward. Similar deployment, I've kind of mirrored it on both sides. My next line consists of 2 units of Marines of Vinyamar. I'm going to use them to again prey on his polearm units, as those are the crux of his build, the units that he lives or dies by. I've also got 2 units of the Armatar of Baradithel, for a little bit of morale support. And this time around, instead of the Airimo Arantar, I have brought the Sons of Húrin. Very, very strong, and I wanted the armor piercing here to use in flanking movements, or to potentially rout off units with their fear and deal with the heavily armored units of boar that I was expecting to see on the field today. I've also brought some reserves here of 2 units of Blade Masters of Barad Eithel, and in addition, we've switched up a little bit here in that I've brought 2 companies of Marksmen of Barad Eithel instead of a unit of Cavalry and another unit of Bladesmen that I had brought in the previous battle. You can see already the army of our ally here, UMAD Commander, who's also playing as the House of Fingolfin, is already being harassed. He's brought another unit of the Lancers of Anon in Galuth. We saw how powerful those units can be in the last game when left unchecked. I'm going to get picked on a little bit by those Salamandrian Guard. Artorias is not going to give him a chance to get close, and they're already beginning to flee. Moving on over here, fairly standard build for House Fingolfin, at least from what I've seen so far. Ferdsmen. We got some Bladesmen here as well. A nice defense in-depth approach to UMAD Commander's army. Got some Sons of Húrin because they are just so strong. Blade Masters of Barad Eithel, Sentries of Hithlum, Herdsmen of Hithlum, and some Airimo Arantar, so a very similar build. In fact, it might be the same build minus the catapult that he had used from the last game. Blade Masters here, mixed in with some more Ferdsmen, and we have some Marines of Vinyamar, and they are moving forward to harass and threaten elements of the Angband army from Scouts of Entertainment. He has brought some Spear Guard of the Iron Crown, a useful unit that also increases the morale of nearby friendly troops. Some Thralls of Angband, a little bit more useful against some of the more lightly armored units, well, generally against the lightly armored nature of House Fingolfin, or comparatively relative to other factions like Feanor and Finarfin. Some Ironshot Arbalists, which are crossbowmen, and some Legionnaires here, and of course the mighty and terrifying Balaraukar, the Balrog's demons of flame and shadow, taking to the field today, looking to crump some elf skulls. Over here, Wolf Riders of Angband, looking for an opportunity, especially against the Sentries of Hithlum, even though these are not exactly shock infantry, they are more of a melee cavalry unit. If they manage to get into the Sentries of Hithlum with their 6 melee defense, they can certainly do a lot of damage off the charge. Out front here, we have Trollguard of Gothmog who are leading the way, and UMAD is able to swarm them on all sides with very thick lines here of Bladesmen of Barad Eithel. And this is, I think, Scouts' big mistake here, is pushing in like this and being so aggressive with these units when there's no support nearby. Now, the Trollguard of Gothmog ain't no joke. They are certainly going to do a number on the Elven infantry units that are here, but because there are no units nearby to support them, UMAD Commander is able to fairly swiftly swarm them and deal with them. And now there's a few other elements coming in to try and support them. Ironshod Ravagers here, 2-handed Axemen with armor piercing. Potentially very scary, but these guys are kind of just trickling in rather than it being one massive wave that crashes into the enemy formation, which is something that Angband can be very, very good at doing, and certainly potent when they do so. But it's getting kind of messy over here. You can see lots of flanking movements coming in, trying to surround these already isolated pockets here, and that is going to be bad news bears for these really strong elements of Scout's army. That's the Firstman of Dorloman here being thrown under the bus and receiving the charge from the Ironshod Ravagers, which honestly is not a terrible thing to have happen. The Bladesmen of Barad Eithel are mixed in there as well, and they will swiftly defeat these mid-tier Axemen from Angband. Legionaries here trying to move in and provide support, but again blocked by a similar combination of Bladesmen and Ferdsmen of Dorloman. Popping back over to the other side, I've managed to use my my second line here of Marines of Vinyamar. You can see that they're now out of ammunition. I've used them to try and cut down a number of these halberdiers before they manage to get into close quarters. You can see a lot of clumps of dead Easterling bodies. And Artorias is moving in. He wants to grind this out with polearms, and I'm willing to let him do so. I'm certainly curious to test the limits of Fingolfin. No, I wouldn't normally go, this ham when my opponent has this many polearm units. You definitely want to try and whittle down their numbers if possible, and then overwhelm the weakened sections of the line that you have created for yourself. But in this case, I was willing to kind of let it slide and just go for it. So, Warband of Lothline here, moving in, and they're going to set the stage for this battle. It's just going to be one big grind fest between his polearms and my higher tier infantry and polearms. His polearms are better than mine, but my infantry is better than his. So it's certainly going to be an interesting fight here. And it's just disgusting. All along the line, murder taking place in massive, massive quantities as these two these two potential allies here. This is the tribe of Boar, of course, who stayed loyal to the elves, smash each other apart for the delight of Morgoth, certainly. Herdsmen of Dorloman here, doing their best to hold back the tide, but they are kind of being overwhelmed a little bit. There's some herdsmen in there as well to try and support them, but this is a fight I think that will probably go in favor ultimately of the Easterlings. A little bit farther down the line, I'm going for a flanking attack with my Blade Masters of Barad Ithel, and I'm supporting that with some of my marksmen of Barad Ithel, who are able to rain fire into the rear of these Wardens of Lothland, and they are taking heavy, heavy losses in the meanwhile. Over here, I was trying to screen out and support my ally, screen out the cavalry of Artorias while supporting my ally, and you can see I've started to bring them back now that the Salamandrian Guard have come behind my lines. However, if we look here, there was a bit of a cavalry punch-up between the Lancers and the Salamandrian Guard. I was able to support my ally with missiles and threaten his cavalry with Herdsmen. So ultimately, the losses were quite severe for the cavalry of Artorias, and that's a really big deal. The Salamandrian Guard are armor-piercing units, so when they're in close quarters they are armor-piercing, which means when they are charging, they are effectively a Lancer unit. So they're very versatile and extremely potent if they are charging and cycling into my backlines and my supporting units. But luckily we managed to effectively deal with them, both with some skirmishing fire from my second line here of marksmen and so forth, and of course by screening them out with our Herdsmen. They're going to come back for a little bit of revenge, and they are going to get some of my my low-tier archers, but you know what, I'm willing to let that slide. Over here, Herdsmen have charged headlong into the Wardens of Lothland, and they're going to cut them down in droves. Now, Artorias is struggling a little bit. There are places where he's winning here, and you can start to see the quality of the Boar infantry and why this build can potentially be so powerful. Again, it's elite stacking, so it is possible to overwhelm it with numbers, but in certain areas where I'm not able to bring my most elite troops to bear, such as here, where it's only a unit of Vinyamar Marines alongside some Armatar Barad Ithel, he is starting to win through with his quality. In the center, it's kind of hard to say. My troops are losing this fight, according to the AI's algorithm in any case. But that should start to change slowly but surely. Armatar Barad Ithel, they don't like what's happening to them right now, and these halberdiers and those spears are just such a potent combination along with the armor piercing from the halberds. And so far, it's looking a little bit grim for me. I've certainly stacked my wings. Again, I'm trying to effect a flanking attack that kind of puts the nail in the coffin of Artorias' army. So these battles are playing out fairly similarly. And back here, my Marines of Vinyamar managed to use their entire pool of ammunition on these clan guard here, which is why they are so weakened. And now they're going to hold back more elements of Artorias' army. And that's kind of the downfall, I suppose, of playing such a heavily elite army. If I can isolate and delay elements of his army for long enough, I'm going to be able to use my numbers to potentially win out. Elite stacking is so powerful because your units can just kill things so quickly and so efficiently that at the end of it, you're just looking better than any other potential rival still remaining on the field. So, if I can delay that and I can prevent him from being able to cut his way through my army and inflict heavy casualties and potentially morale shocks, then I'm going to be just laughing. So I've got my skirmish line here, trying to even out the fight, pouring fire into the halberdiers here, swinging this this part of the battle back in my favor, because you can see the Edain here alongside the Blade Masters are having a really hard time. The Herdsmen are thinking about routing. The Edain of House Hador are starting to waver a little bit here, and that's bad news for me as they make up most of my numbers over on this side. Some more Blade Masters of Barad Ithel who have come in support, and now things can start to go my way. Again, I have the numbers. I can continuously throw wave after wave of troops at Artorias and potentially win my engagements just through sheer brute force. In the center here, he is starting to break through. There's a big concentration of his troops here, and I wasn't able to focus them down with my javelins. So things are not looking great for me in the center, but my Armatar Barad Ithel are holding on, and their morale buffing capabilities are helping me out. And over on this side, this is where it gets significant. So as he is pushing through my center and starting to win out, he's not going to be able to just break through and roll out up my line. He has to respond now to a big threat. I've got Vinyamar Marines, Herdsmen of Hithlum, and of course the mighty Sons of Húrin, who are bearing down on his left wing. And this is where things begin to fall apart for the Easterlings. But we'll return to that in just a moment. If we pop on over to this side, we can see the fight between Angband is nearly over. We've got the Uroloki here, who are fricasseeing many of the lightly armored Noldor and Elves of Hithlum. But nonetheless, Yumet's quality is shining through here, and he is slowly but surely beating down the orcs of Angband. This is an ugly one here. Audimo Adantar basically full strength, and I think what happened here is that Yumet Commander has some connection issues, but essentially he's won this fight in a huge way. He's got the numbers, he's got the quality. Scouts' units are on the verge of breaking. This is basically a winning fight for him, even with the Uruloki, and even with the presence of some of these Balrogs over here, who are looking a little bit worse for wear. Very bloody, down to about half strength as well. Yeah, this is a fight that was going to go in favor of Yumet Commander for sure. He's got some more Sons of Húrin back here. Yeah, this is basically game over for Scouts of Entertainment. However, the fight I wanted to draw your attention to in particular is happening over here, as this is one of the very, very strong competitive builds that people on our testing team have had difficulties defeating. And now with our flanking attack here, slowly but surely crushing this Easterling line, and we're going to be able to roll them up. At the same time, Artorias is trying to do the exact same thing to us, but my troops will be able to hold out for quite some time. And that's really the only place that he has won so far with his infantry has been in the center. You can see these troops over here. It says that they're winning, but honestly we've got the numbers here. We have a very healthy line of pikemen alongside some very strong blade masters as well. So we're isolating his army again and beating down the pockets. Here we got blade masters squaring off against the Chieftain's Honor Guard. The Chieftain's Honor Guard will win this, but they will take a severe amount of damage from my blade masters. Got some halberdiers moving in over here, and another unit moving to assist the warband of Lothlan and hold up my blade masters even longer. But yeah, we are well poised to cut our way through these halberdiers and the few remaining light infantry, and then begin to put pressure on the other wing as well. And then we'll be able to squeeze Artorias' army between our victorious flanking units. Herdsmen of Dorloman here being pressed hard by halberdiers of Lothlan, but again, Herdsmen they're a shield. They're not a sword. They are here to get in the way and to hold people down, and that is exactly what they're doing. Meanwhile, the real thrust of the spear is going to come from the Sons of Húrin and from the armor piercing of the Herdsmen of Hithlum, and they're just having a field day beating down these Easterlings. I think now is a good time to go ahead and turn this up to light speed. And the Host of Hithlum is looking like they're gonna be victorious, but again here it's a reasonably close battle. Things are still fairly even between Artorias and I. I'll pop back over here to see how Scouts is doing. Yeah, I think this is where Yumet Commander had some connection issues, but again, this is a winning fight for the Host of Hithlum for sure. Most of the Balrogs have been destroyed. There's some Thralls of Angband still remaining. Uruloki are still here and can certainly be a nuisance, but the Sons of Húrin on their own are enough to destroy this unit almost single-handedly. Ooh, a big charge here from the Uruloki into the rear of these elven units. Gonna be ugly. But nonetheless, Hithlum will prevail. Out here we've got some marksmen of Barrett Eiffel. I believe that they've used most of their ammunition. Oh no, not quite. I'm going to use them for some fire support here to fire into the rear of these Easterling units over on this side. Yeah, you can see those arrows coming in, cutting their way through, and the Chieftain's Honor Guard are now beginning to fall by the wayside. Blazemen of Barrett Eiffel have come in to reinforce, and I think those are the units that were there the entire time. But there is a second unit here that are cutting their way through the halberdiers, and it will not be long before they're able to slam into the rear of the few remaining Easterling units. And now, some scary stuff. Sons of Húrin coming for Boar's Chieftain's Vanguard. They're going to get a nice charge in there. We're going to see a lot of those Easterling units begin to fall apart. Ooh, it's so nasty. The Warband of Lothlan are going to break almost immediately. And the halberdiers and the few remaining Chieftain's Honor Guard are going to find themselves caught between the hammer and the anvil, and that's going to be basically it for them. What do we got here? I think, oh yes, I saw some of the few remaining Salamandrine Guardsmen. I didn't focus on them too much in this battle because they didn't really do a whole lot. They were screened out early, and I was able to deal with them effectively with missiles and spearmen, so there wasn't really anything too scary going on here. And they're going to nimbly escape from my Sons of Húrin, but at the same time the general is going to go down for Artorias. And it's basically just a cleanup operation at this point. Sons of Húrin now running into the rear of one of the few remaining pockets of the Easterlings. And it's basically going to be game over here. 73 to 86%. Reasonably close pitch battle, although to be fair, Umad did end up crashing out. Well, not crashing out, but like disconnecting. He was having issues. And Angband was certainly not going to win this fight. Yeah, even AFK here, you can see that they're starting to win out. We got over here Marines, Adima Adentar. Yeah, they would not have been able to defeat these guys, unfortunately. Moving back to the other side. That's basically it for Artorias' army. It's just cleanup at this point. But it was a bloody struggle. The elite armies, they can be very powerful, and we've seen that on display twice now. But they are beatable, and that's kind of what I wanted to emphasize here, and why I'm really excited for the addition of House of Fingolfin to the mod. And then we're going to get an immediate defeat there from scouts over on the other end, so that fight is basically over. But I'm so excited about them being on the mod is because they do shake up the meta in a really significant way. These are two comps that I have seen him lose with very, very infrequently. In fact, I don't think I've ever seen the 3 pike combination lose until we did our games today. So it's cool to have the House of Fingolfin in there. They do shake things up and add some much needed variety and some counterplay to some really powerful builds on our closed alpha build right now. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this so far. Hope you found this edifying, and I hope that you are excited for the mod and for this new faction as I was to show it to you today. But in any case, my name is Jordan, also known as JMonster. Hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you next time.